There is a person you haven't stopped thinking about. Maybe it's been months, maybe it's been years. You've built a whole life around not thinking about them, and yet somehow at 2 a.m. or in the middle of a crowded room, they come back. Like a signal your mind keeps receiving no matter how many times you try to change the frequency. You've told yourself it's just attachment, just nostalgia, just your brain being stubborn. But what if it isn't? What if the reason you can't let go isn't weakness? What if it's information? In this video, I'm going to walk you through something that psychology and neuroscience are only beginning to understand. Something that explains why certain connections leave a permanent mark on your nervous system. Why some people feel like home even after years of silence. And why the deepest bonds between two people almost always begin not with love, but with disruption, loss, and the kind of pain that quietly forces you to grow. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you're going to see your story very differently. Let's start with something almost everyone believes about love. We believe that when two people are truly meant for each other, it should feel easy. That destiny arrives like a quiet morning, soft, warm, effortless. That the right person will slot into your life without resistance, without chaos, without heartbreak. And when it doesn't feel that way, when there's confusion, separation, timing that never seems to line up, we take that as a sign. We say maybe they weren't the one. We walk away. We close the door. But here's what nobody tells you. That belief, the one that says real love should be effortless from the start, has quietly ended more meaningful connections than any act of betrayal ever could. Because the truth, the one hidden underneath all the romantic movies and the social media highlight reels, is that the deepest bonds between human beings are almost never born in ease. They are born in fire. Researchers who study long-term relationships have found something that continues to disturb the conventional wisdom around love. The couples with the most resilient, deeply rooted bonds are not the ones who met and never looked back. They are not the couples who never fought, never separated, never had seasons where everything fell apart. The couples who described their relationship as genuinely fulfilling decades later, many of them had gone through periods of significant separation. Periods where they were not together, where they each had to face themselves completely alone with no one to lean on, no shared identity to hide inside. And what happened during those separations was not meaningless, it was the whole point. Because here is what the research keeps showing: both people during these periods apart underwent profound personal transformation, not together, not in conversation, separately. As if something invisible was reshaping them simultaneously on different sides of the world, preparing them for something they couldn't yet see. Pause and sit with that for a second. Two people falling apart separately, both becoming someone new, both shedding old fears, old patterns, old versions of themselves they'd outgrown, and then finding each other again. Not as the people they used to be, as the people they were always meant to become. I want you to think about someone specific right now, not a fantasy, a real person, someone whose absence changed you. Someone who, when you think back on who you were before them and who you became after them, you realize that the distance between those two versions of yourself is enormous. Think about what you stopped tolerating after they left. The things you used to accept because you didn't believe you deserved better. The way you used to shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were always too small for you. Think about the version of yourself that quietly emerged in the silence after them. That version didn't just happen. You didn't just accidentally become stronger, more self-aware, more honest about what you needed. That came from the disruption, from the loss, from being forced to sit with yourself when there was no one left to distract you from yourself. That was not punishment, that was preparation. Now here is where I need to say something that most love content will never say to you because it's uncomfortable. Destiny does not reward waiting. Say that again slowly in your mind. There is a version of this story that people tell themselves, usually around 3 a.m. when everything is quiet and the longing is unbearable, where they decide that if two people are meant to be together, the universe will simply bring them back. So they wait. They hold themselves in a kind of emotional suspension. They don't fully invest in other people. They don't fully invest in themselves. They are always slightly turned toward a door their hopping will open. And while they wait, something else quietly happens. They stop growing. Because growth requires full presence. Growth requires you to actually be here in your current life, facing your current fears, building something with your own hands. And you cannot do that if half of you is always somewhere else. This is the part that nobody wants to hear. If you spend your separation fixated on their return instead of your own transformation, the very thing that makes a reunion possible, the personal growth that changes both of you, never happens. The door doesn't just stay closed, it disappears. So what does growth actually look like in this context? Real growth in the context of love and loss looks like noticing, for the first time, that you've been chasing people who weren't available because you learned early that love required you to work for it. It looks like realizing that the person you kept losing wasn't withholding love from you, you were unconsciously picking people who reflected the belief that you didn't fully deserve it. It looks like sitting in a quiet room on an ordinary Tuesday and feeling, for the first time in years, completely okay with yourself. There is a concept in neuroscience called neural imprinting, and it helps explain something that I think a lot of us have experienced but never had language for. When we form a deeply significant emotional bond with another person, especially during formative or high-intensity moments of our lives, that person gets encoded differently in the brain than ordinary connections do. The neural pathways associated with them are reinforced over and over, through repetition, through longing, through memory. Which is why you can go years without seeing someone and then hear a song or catch a smell or walk past a place you once went together, and it hits you like it just happened yesterday. This is not you being weak. This is your nervous system telling you that this connection meant something. But here's the part that changes how you interpret this. Neural imprinting is not a prediction of the future. It is a record of the past. Just because someone is permanently encoded in your nervous system does not automatically mean they are the person you are supposed to be with. It means they were significant. It means they shaped you. It means the experience of loving them and losing them carved out parts of you that would not exist otherwise. That is not nothing. That is actually everything. Now I want to describe something, a moment. Two people reconnect after a long time apart, maybe years, maybe longer. And something is different. It's quieter than before. There's no desperation, no electricity of two people reaching frantically toward each other across too much distance. It's steadier, calmer, more deliberate. Because what is happening in that moment is not two incomplete people trying to fill each other's gaps. It is two whole people choosing each other consciously with full awareness of who the other person actually is. That choice looks completely different from the love we feel at the beginning. Beginning love is instinctive, chemical, urgent. This love is different. This love has looked at the difficulty and chosen anyway. This love has seen the other person at their worst and still says, yes, still says, you. That is what destiny actually looks like when it arrives, not fireworks, a quiet yes. But I need to tell you something else, something for those of you for whom the reunion never came, for those of you who did the work, who transformed, who grew into someone unrecognizable from who you used to be, and who looked up ready only to find that they never came back. The connection was still real. Some people are not meant to stay. Some people were never the destination. They were the preparation. They arrived in your life at exactly the right moment to break open exactly the parts of you that needed to break. To show you exactly the wounds that needed to see light in order to heal. To love you in exactly the imperfect, insufficient, painful way that would force you to finally go looking for something more. They were not the person you were meant to be with. They were the reason you became someone who could be. That doesn't diminish what you had. It makes it sacred. Because the person who shapes you, even through leaving, gives you a gift that no one else could give. They give you yourself. You take seriously, for possibly the first time, the idea that your own transformation is not a side project. It is the project. It is the whole thing. You start looking honestly at what you are still afraid of, what patterns you keep repeating. Because here is the deepest truth in all of this. Two people who are truly meant for each other are not brought together by luck or fate or cosmic accident. They are brought together because they each separately became someone who is capable of holding the other one. And if you're in the middle of it right now, you are not in the wrong story. You are exactly where the story requires you to be.
Like to learn more about human psychology? Like, comment, and share this video. Subscribe my channel now. Thank you for watching.